All right, and with us is Bellator bantamweight contender Jornel Lugo, who will be taking on Danny Sabatello on April 22nd. How's it going, man?
What's going on, man? Everything's good.
Good, good, good. First off, I want to get started on how did this fight happen? How long have you known that you were getting ready for this fight? When did you put pen to paper?
The Lord blessed me with this opportunity, honestly. Right after my fight, a week later, I got contacted about the Danny Sabatello fight, and that fight would be pretty much an alternate slot to get in the tournament. And in order for that to happen, two people had to fall off the tournament. So, it's just, honestly, it was just all God's work right there. Two people fell out of the tournament. That opened up two slots, and that's for the 8th and 9th ranked men, which is me and Josh Hill, and we're fighting people outside of the top 10. And whoever wins these fights goes into the tournament.
Well, how do you feel knowing that, you're going into signing that, knowing that you might be an alternate, but now that you're definitely got a potential spot in the tournament, how do you feel going into this matchup?
I mean, now it is the tournament at this point, because
right.
There's no difference between being in the wild card slot or being in the tournament. Either way, if you lose, you're out of the tournament.
Right.
Whether you lose the first, second, third round, you're out the tournament if you lose, So now it's just I'm just really happy that I was blessed with this opportunity to showcase my skills, and I'm in a position where no one thinks I'm going to succeed, and rightfully so, because I'm only 8-0. For me to be for most people in the tournament, they're all at the prime of their careers. You have UFC vets, you got people with big records, everyone over 10 fights. Everybody has a lot of fights, a lot of experience. I'm the only guy with 8 fights, and I'm in the tournament. So everybody's like, this guy has no chance, So it's another great opportunity for me to showcase that God is with me.
Oh, absolutely. You could potentially be the dark horse in this entire thing. Not many people do know about you. You're not a household name just yet, but after this, you just might be. Are you looking to put on, the best performance of your life against arguably the best opponent that you've faced in your career?
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking to go out there and dominate. I get better every fight, and I know I just fought in February, but it's not really the skills that really make my game. Is more the mindset. For me, I feel like fighting is a wisdom thing. Not just fighting, but every craft in the world is a wisdom thing. It's about how you approach things, and I'm always learning and growing and getting better at my craft. So I think this next fight will be my best fight, and going forward from there, they'll all be better and better, So really excited to just get my chance,
Absolutely. And you're talking about your mindset, and, and there's not a lot of people at 8-0 that, have the type of mindset that you have the type of drive, sometimes it takes longer in their careers. What made you get, to where you are so fast in your career?
Well, I would say humility. I believe in God, and I trust in God, and it's a major thing. As a Christian, a major key is just humility and being humble. And what you'll see is that a lot of times in any craft, not just fighting, but in any craft, if you're too arrogant and prideful, it's hard to learn because you know everything. It's hard to teach somebody when they think they already know it. You know what I'm saying? So just being humble allows me to continue to keep growing and growing and learning and understanding that I'm not the best. I'm just trying. I'm giving it my all. And I trust in God. I'm giving it 100% of my effort, and that's pretty much what helps me to continue to grow and keep my mind open, as opposed to other fighters like my opponent, where they got it all figured out. They're the best in the world. Everyone's screaming, I'm the best in the world. I'm the greatest there's ever been. And that arrogancy is what limits them. That's why they're not the best. That's why they can't grow and become better, because they're already the hottest thing since shoestrings,
Right. Yeah. We'll talk about your opponent. He's one of the most outspoken guys probably in the sport. I mean, he's never not talking. He's always got something to say about somebody. It's just, I guess that's just who he is as a person, inside and outside of the cage. But, do you think that type of personality, that type of, like you said, arrogance is really holding him back as a fighter, and maybe that's the reason why he didn't get signed to the UFC in his first try?
Look at all his fights, and I don't have to say anything bad about the guy. You could look at his fights and you could tell me where he's good and where he's bad at, even if you don't have a trained eye. You could say, okay, this is what he does, and look, these are all the other things that he doesn't do, just based on watching his fights with an untrained eye, and that's just pure arrogance. And because he's so prideful in what he does, and And you know, and people might think that I dislike him because he dislikes me, and it's not even because of that. I don't even care about that. The truth is that, like, for me, I don't judge people. I'm not a respective person. I don't judge people based on their status, their record, what they do. I judge people based on the things that they say and their actions. And if you hear the words that he says and the things that he says about all his other opponents and about me and about everyone and about himself, is that he's the greatest ever. And nothing he does can go wrong. You know, he thinks he's like the hottest thing. Like I said, since shoestrings. But look at his actual skills, and you look at what he does when he actually fights, and it's very one dimensional, right? He's just a wrestler that shoots. Even his wrestling is one dimensional. It's not like he's a wrestler and he's using body locks, he's using double legs low, he's using collars. He's doing one dimensional wrestling. Everything, his whole game is one dimensional. Yet he's super prideful and lifted up. But that's one thing I noticed about people, is that when they're real arrogant, it's never based on reality. You know what I'm saying? It's usually, it's like, it's almost like they're insane in their own mind. Kind of like, if you've seen Conor McGregor, he says that he's 19-1 because the only loss that counts is where he got stopped. But when he got submitted and when he got decisioned, it didn't count. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's arrogance that's not even based on reality. Even after I beat Danny, he'll still be arrogant and still think he's the best in the world, even though he clearly just lost. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, it's true, because I mean, it could be a good thing and a bad thing, you know, because you have the mindset, oh, you're great, you're good and this and that, but then you also think maybe you're a little bit better than who you really are at that given time. And like you said, it doesn't really help you grow as a fighter, because if you have a setback, you still think you're good, you still think you're better than your opponent, and I feel like it will, you know, it'll bring you a step back. It won't help you grow and, you know, move forward in your career. But, you know, talking about him and, you know, what he's been talking about to you, and that, like, you know, does that fuel any fire, you know, to want to really beat him even more, that he's just talking this talk, you know, all throughout, just nonsense? Does that help you kind of really want to beat him more than just, you know, just getting the win?
Well, so for me, every single fight that I get in, I want to win 100%, and I'm ready to die. I'm ready to die out there. You know, it means everything to me. This is something I give 100% to. You know, we're commanded by God to do our best at everything. You know, to do everything as unto the Lord. And so I would give him my 100%, regardless if he didn't say anything or if he talked trash. It's irrelevant. The things that I'm saying about him stand outside of this fight. It's not like, oh, I'm saying this, and then after the fight, everything's cool. Or after the fight, all his arrogancy is not a problem anymore. You got a problem regardless if we fight. If I get injured or he gets injured, he still has a problem. He has a lot of problems and a lot of things that he needs to take care of. You see what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
not for 1 second, no one should be confused that I'm taking any of this into the fight. The fight is completely separate. I'm talking about him as a human being, as a person. This has nothing to do with the fight. When we get in the ring, I'm going to beat you up. But all this stuff is still the case, regardless of the fight. You get what I'm saying?
right. Yeah, no, definitely. You know, with him, it's, you kind of know what you're getting, right? You know, he's, like you said, one dimensional. And, you know, how have you been gearing up for this, you know, one-dimensional type of fighter in Danny Sabatello?
These are things that I've been preparing for years. You know, there's a lot of fighters in the game that fight like that, especially in Bellator. In Bellator, the 135-pound division is full of guys that just wrestle. You know what I'm saying? So it's something. It's not like he's not the only person that does that. There's a lot of guys who just wrestle and just look to hold you down. So it's something I've prepared for forever. Just like I prepare for pure strikers, I prepare for pure grapplers. Like I try to be prepared for all the scenarios that can happen, because ultimately that's, if you want to do the best at your craft, you got to be able to handle everything that comes. You can't just be like one dimensional. You know, I work on cars. All I do is oil changes. I work on cars. All I do is I don't know. I just rotate tires. All I do. You know, you got to be able to do the oil, rotate the tires. You got to be able to change the spark plugs. You got to be able to do everything in your craft, you know? So this is just, I'll just be able to showcase that I'm able to fight against wrestlers just like I'm able to fight against strikers.
You know, going to this fight, do you think that you're arguably his toughest opponent yet in his career? I mean, other than Brett Johns, the rest of his career was kind of like fluffed up, Titan FC and all the regional scene, not really high level competition. Do you think you pose the biggest threat, to taking that away from them?
The difference between me and all of them is God is with me, first of all. That's the difference between me and all his other opponents before. But another thing, though, is Brett Johns is on paper, Brett Johns is his best opponent on paper. But I would say stylistically and mentally, I think I bring something different to the table than most fighters, because, like I said before, most fighters are one-dimensional. Most fighters not even most fighters, but most people are so most people are kind of arrogant to a point to where they don't want to work on everything that they think they don't think they have to work on everything, whereas I'm kind of like, I spend most of my time in like a fearful state of like, oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if somebody does this? So I'm always I'm always attacking my weaknesses rather than saying, well, I'm the best at this and this is what I do, and being one track minded towards that. You get what I'm saying? So I think because of that, because I'm so focused on where things could go wrong, I think that's why I'll pose probably his biggest threat.
So you're like an analytical man. You kind of you break it down to kind of like a science. You know what your opponent's good at, and you know where your area of weaknesses are, and you perfect those weaknesses to beat your opponents. Am I correct?
Yeah. I try my best. I'm not perfect. I'm not the best at everything, but I definitely I give everything I can to all the different areas, things that I'm weak at. I try my best, you know what I'm saying? And I think even if I'm not the best, the fact that I try my best at all these different areas is better than what most people do, which is they just ignore them completely because they're so one track minded towards the things that they're good at. I punch hard. So they focus on that and they give that all their energy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right. Looking forward at this, the Grand Prix and everything. Let's say you make it to the finals, right? We're not looking past your opponents or anything like that. But let's say you make it to the finals. Who do you think is going to make it to the final against you on the other side of the bracket?
Nah, it's hard to say. You got Horiguchi versus Patchy Mix. You got, I feel like one of them will make it, to be honest. I think one of those two, Horiguchi or Patchy Mix. And stylistically, it might be Patchy, just because like Horiguchi's fire, but Patchy's real long and he's a grappler, and I feel like if he doesn't get a hold of Horiguchi, he's gonna get destroyed. Obvious. Right. But if he gets a hold of Horiguchi, I feel like Horiguchi could have a hard time. So if that's a tough one. Whoever wins out of those two, I think is gonna win, because I think any of those two will well, there's the guy Barzola. He's really good too. If he gets past if he were to get past Magomed, then I think he could beat Patchy Mix. But I don't think he could beat Horiguchi. It's A beats B, B beats C, C beats A. Right. It could be any one of them, but I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
No, it's tough because you look at the bantamweight division; it is stacked in Bellator. Like, ridiculously, any one of those guys on any side of the bracket can realistically make the finals. That's why I'm really intrigued to see how this pans out. This is going to be absolute fire. Every single fight is fireworks. Do you think, let's say it would never happen, a cross promotion between UFC bantamweights and Bellator bantamweights? Obviously you're going to say Bellator will come on top, but like, who do you like? How do you think that pans out between the top bantamweights of the Bellator and top bantamweights of the UFC?
Well, I think the top UFC fighters would win, actually.
Really?
Once again, just because I belong to Bellator doesn't mean I can't.
Okay. No, of course, bro. I mean, like, but some people stay loyal to it, but I like you being smart.
By and large, I think UFC fighters, like the top 5 in the UFC, like you got Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling. I don't feel like he's all that, but Peter Yan is really good. TJ Dillashaw is TJ Dillashaw and Peter Yan and Jose Aldo. I don't think anyone in the tournament is really like skill for skill. I don't think anyone could really beat them. In the bantamweight division, obviously I would give it my all, and I would hope that I could beat them. But I think skill for skill, those 3 alone, no one in Bellator is beating them. And then outside of that, though, once you get like the 5 to 10 in UFC, then I think Bellator can do very good against those guys, 5 and above.
Right. No,
maybe actually, I like Merab is outside the top 5, right? Merab.
I I think he's just in the top 5 or just outside the top 5.
Yeah, he's a problem too, actually. So him and everybody under him, because he's good.
He's good too. And then another guy that beat Merab, Ricky Simone, is another problem too. Outside the top 5.
I mean, look, they got Jack Shore over there in the UFC.
Oh my God, yeah, man,
16-0, and he's not even. I don't even know if he's ranked. I'm not sure.
I think he just snuck into the top 15 after his last win against Timur Valiev. That was impressive.
16-0. The guy's fire. Super good fighter. Good everywhere, you know.
Right.
So.
No, it's crazy because like I just feel like the bantamweight division in general, across the board, across all every promotion out there, is one of the best weight classes. You guys are super athletic. You guys are well-rounded everywhere. All of them. I just feel like you guys put on the best performances. And like being a fan, is that one of your favorite divisions to watch? Even though I know you're in it, but is that one of your favorite divisions to watch fight?
Yeah. I like 135. I think probably just because we're not as knockout orientated. I mean, obviously people do get knockouts, but because we're a little smaller, there's more technical aspect to the 135ers fighting. But I would say 135 is a great division, yeah, for sure, in MMA. And 45 is decent, 55, 70 is decent, 85. I would say in boxing too, 135 is really good too, but boxing 147 and 154, 47. The smaller weight classes, I think probably usually do have the better fights though, probably.
Yeah, they definitely do. You guys put on super exciting fights. I feel like the more slower pace fights is what you start, moving up the weight classes. But yeah, you guys put on fire. But geared towards your fight here, I just want to know like who you've been getting in some work with coming into this fight.
Man, honestly, I work with the same guys usually. Honestly, I have a friend named Jersey who's an amateur, but he's like my main training partner, and I train with him it's not. I don't belong to a big camp. I don't belong to Sanford. I've trained there a few times, and I like Henry Hoot and them. They're nice guys, but it's just pretty much just me and my friend, and I have people that give me advice. I have a coach named Dave. And I don't see him all the time, but whenever I go to see him, he gives me a lot of good advice and things like that. And I kind of like just pretty much dictate and set up my training on my own. I just pretty much scour the internet, scour my own sparring footage, and we make sure we watch our opponents and we develop game plans and training strategies based on those things. So. I kind of, it's just me and my friend Jersey, and I have another friend named Alex, and I have a lot of guys that I spar with and stuff like that on Wednesdays, but those pretty much are the only people that I really train with, just like one-on-one sessions, not even like big group sessions or anything.
Wow. That's impressive because you see a lot of these other fighters, they're going to the ATTs, the Sanford Never Mays, the Factory X's, so on and so forth. Do you think you do better in a smaller setting like you have now than versus going into a big setting like a Sanford or an American Top Team?
Well, I would say there's pros and cons. So the pros to it is that I'm a very analytical guy. Like, I'm trying to figure out what to get better at and what things I need to do specifically for a fight. So I think the pros of that is that in a big gym, you would have to pretty much do what everybody else is doing. Hey, we're all working arm bars today. And even though you're fighting against a pure striker who would never go to the ground in his life, you got to work that arm bar that day. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the pros is that I get to come up with my own things that I want to work on based on who I'm fighting or based on my own weaknesses. The cons is that getting information and getting new techniques is harder because you got to like really look for them. Like you got to ask around, like, hey, what would you do in this situation? Or you got to go on the internet and try to find like answers to your problems that you have, or, you know what I'm saying? Whereas in the other gym, they kind of will just feed you random techniques and new techniques from different people that have to give it to you, So those are like the pros and cons.
Do you ever think that you will go into a bigger setting at some time, whether it's splitting time or even, at some point in your career, do you think you might need, that type of advice and that type of work with other high level athletes like yourself?
It's definitely possible. It just depends. As far as sparring, yeah, I think it's good to, if you want to spar with whoever, go spar with a lot of people and grappling and things like that. But as far as actually training, I don't think it's necessary. You don't need a big squad of people to train. You know, you just need your partner. You just need one person. You know, you need the person that you're working with. Or sometimes you don't even need anyone. You can hit the bag and you could do a lot of things solo in your mind and things like that. So as far as like my everyday training, I don't think I would ever need a giant crowd of people. I mean, look at boxers. Boxers train alone or with one partner exclusively. There's never a giant Floyd Mayweather training with 10 people in a gym full of 50 people. It's never like that, you know?
Right.
Besides if it's sparring day or something like that. So for sparring, yeah, but I don't think it would be necessary in terms of like my training.
I like it. All right. So gearing for your fight, it's prediction time. I need to know, how do you get the job done? How do you get your hand raised in the end?
I mean, I think ultimately in the end, you know, like I said before, God is with me and I'm gonna come out with the victory regardless. But I'm looking for the stoppage. I'm definitely looking. I want to get in there and I want to humble him. You know, I want people to see that it's not that whole mindset and the way he thinks and that, you know, that Kobe Covington, Chael Sonnen, Conor McGregor persona of you got to be the best in the world. Everybody else sucks. You know, that whole mindset is ridiculous and it's not right. God doesn't like it. No one likes it. You know, so I'm hoping that we could shut his whole program down and push a different message, a message of humility, a message of hard work and things like that.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Before I let you go, the floor is yours. If you got any sponsors or where people can find you on social media, it's all yours.
Oh, yeah. You guys can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at @UnoLugo, AUNOLUGO.